Trafficking is a conversation nobody wants to have or experience, but city leaders say it's a critical issue that needs to be talked about more.
WIFR News reporter Anthony Ferretti was in Rockford's 6th Ward tonight to learn more about misconceptions and what help is out there for survivors.
In 2023, the National Human Trafficking Hotline received 760 reports of trafficking in Illinois, with 265 of them coming from victims or survivors. Leaders say this is something happening in our community, too.
We're talking about very ugly things tonight.
More than 24 residents and city leaders come together in Rockford's 6th Ward Thursday night to look at human trafficking from a Rockford perspective.
Cases come to us as young as 12, and if they're coming to us at 12, that means that there's something that's going on much sooner than that we need to be aware of.
One misconception is control always involves force, but it could also involve fraud or coercion. If a victim is younger than 18 years old, there is no requirement to prove force, fraud, or coercion. Another myth is it's easy to see coming. In reality, it can overlap with other factors, including labor exploitation and poverty.
What is unsettling, to say the least, is that traffickers can easily identify these and they exploit them.
City leaders even shared a message from a man serving a 6-year prison sentence for human trafficking. One of the victims was a minor from Rockford.
I would welcome them with open arms. I learned that being traumatized, they were open to anybody and subject to anything.
The Rockford Alliance Against Sexual Exploitation is one solution to this. It opened a drop-in center in 2019 serving women 18 and older with immediate needs.
Really start to connect with survivors and build a trust with them so they know that they have a safe and trusted person and agency to turn to.
While RACE's drop-in center doesn't help the youth yet, the organization has a program teaching youth how to protect themselves from human trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Thank you, Anthony. And the Mayor's Office of Domestic and Community Violence Prevention created a task force which implements several strategies, including a team educating teachers on this issue, and they also provide them with tools for the classroom.